let's just, I guess, just start it. Welcome back! Box Office Maniacs is back. I'm back, and we're back with another franchise collection of films. And this is one of my all-time favorite action film series, actually. And it is Lethal Weapon.
And for this film, Vince, we are going to have to travel back in time to 1987. Wow, I didn't know you'd be that excited to go back to 1987, Vince.
There was a lot of exciting films that came out in 87.
The first thing I gotta say, before we start this review, I want to say one thing, Vince.
What?
Boobs.
Damn! Boobs.
That's what I'm talking about.
What are we talking about again?
Maybe that's why you're so excited to go back to 1987, because of boobs.
Well, that'd be one reason, yeah.
And the other thing we can't forget here, Vince, prostitutes.
I just put on some sexy clothes and high heels and went out and made a living.
Yeah. We kind of ended up in the prostitute thing with all the Angel films.
You have no right to judge me. You don't even know anything about me.
Yeah, I think the 80s was all about prostitute movies and boobs. And that's what this was.
This is one of my favorite all-time action film series, next to Die Hard and probably Rambo. I absolutely love this film. From the very first frame, I loved this film because boobs.
That's how this movie starts out. It just shows you boobs and prostitutes.
No, actually, it's a fantastic film. It was really well done, really well written, well put together. It's also one of those films that there's been so much said about it. It's kind of like Star Wars in a way that, you know, what else could you say besides it's a classic and it's fantastic?
Review over. I mean, that was the shortest review ever. Good job, Vince.
Thanks.
Well, we need to mention also, this was directed by Richard Donner, who did Superman.
And The Goonies.
So I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually sat down to watch this, and I've never owned it. So this is what we're reviewing right now. This is a 4-disc collection of all the Lethal Weapon movies. And the great thing about this is it's cheap. It's super cheap. Both Vince and I got this at Target for $10. And you can't beat 4 Lethal Weapon movies for $10. Come on.
Yeah, I love owning all 4 of these films because I loved all 4 of these films. The biggest reason I put off getting them is because I actually own the director's cut of Lethal Weapon here on DVD. And they've never released this on Blu-ray, as far as I know.
Yeah, but you don't. But you can't argue with the purity of the original film, though. I mean, it's nice to sit down and watch the movie that was in the theater in 1987, and I like that because, like I said, I haven't seen these films, and I couldn't even tell you how long. So it was almost like watching a whole new movie because I couldn't even remember the plot of any of these. I couldn't remember anything about the film. That's how long ago I've seen these.
Which really surprises me because it's on television like every other week.
Yeah, but I don't watch regular television. I watch anything that I record on my DVR.
Well, I mean, it's on somewhere, on television, somewhere. Every week it's on. Every week, if not every other week. It ends up on AMC all the time.
Now, this is the very definition of buddy cop film. I mean, come on. I think this is probably one of the best buddy cop films of all time.
Yeah, I would say that. It took things to another level, is what it did. And it also was what was so great about it was it had a good sense of humor, and not just the action was great, but they had a lot of humor to it. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with Mel Gibson, because he's very good at coming up with little witty things spur of the moment, and a lot of it was like ad-libbed.
And these guys worked so well together. I mean, the chemistry between these two guys was just great. And like I said, it's funny, and it's serious, and the action in this film, even for the 80s, is just outstanding, especially towards the end of it, when Mel Gibson's going after that guy, and oh my God, it's like one of the most classic scenes in movie history.
Gary Busey, Mr. Joshua.
And I can't stand Gary Busey. I just want to put that out there. I really can't stand that guy, but he was actually pretty good in this movie.
Well, I don't mind Gary Busey. I think he's a real nutball now. This is before he actually became crazy. He was all right. I mean, or at least when he did these movies in the 80s, he did a lot of drugs, I'm sure, but at the same time, he seemed like he was actually kind of with it, you know. At least he seemed like he was at least sensible then. Now I wouldn't say so much, but
I just never liked him as an actor. I just never liked him. But I thought he played a pretty good bad guy in this movie. He was okay. And the story here was actually a pretty good, solid story going on in here. And, you know, it's like the movie's called Lethal Weapon because Mel Gibson is the lethal weapon.
Well, I'm also mentioning the director's cut. I want to say this because in the director's cut, there is scenes, of course, that was cut out of the film, and on this Blu-ray they have a deleted scene section where pretty much all of the stuff that was cut out of the director's cut, except for one massive scene, is on here. So all these deleted scenes that are on this Blu-ray are in the director's cut, like I said, except for one massive scene. And the one massive scene is a really powerful scene, and it sets up more of what Mel Gibson's character really is in this movie. And when he talks about, in the movie, when he talks about being during the war and shooting someone as a sniper, you know, that shooting the sniper, and how he was able to do it where maybe only 1 or 2 of 10 people could have possibly did that. I mean, there's a scene in here that sets that all up, and they don't have it on the deleted scenes in this rather crappy Blu-ray of this movie, by the way.
It's not the best quality Blu-ray, but if you take a look at the inside of the case here, I read on the internet that they re-released the Lethal Weapon films, and they originally brought them out and they were really terrible looking and not that great. Then they re-released them and they all cleaned them up and they look really cool, and you know, they redid the sound and everything. But for whatever reason, this release has the original, which is right here, disc, rather than the cleaned up version. Because you can see this one here, part 4, or that's part 3. Where's part 4 is behind them. Hang on, and that's the other thing about this, is they stack these DVDs. I'm not really crazy about that, and I'll show you. So here's the first one, and you take that off, and then the second one's underneath of it. So they just stack them on top of each other. But for $10, I mean, you can't really beat it. But still, you can see the covers of the other ones here, and they're totally different than the first one. The first one just has an image of Mel Gibson and Danny Glover on it, which is weird. I don't know why they would put the old version of the first one in here and then the updated versions of the other ones in here.
Yeah, I don't understand why they did that either. But the original version of this, that disc right there, is just terrible. There's no real menu to it. There's no, I mean, it's almost like you have to search for the menu just to see these deleted scenes, and there's not that many extra features on here. It's really just deleted scenes and a theatrical trailer, I believe.
Isn't there a commentary on there?
No.
There ain't a commentary on the first one?
No, there's nothing on it. Like I said, there's just those deleted scenes and a theatrical trailer.
And what's kind of fun about the first one here is it takes place during Christmas time. So it's kind of cool. And we're recording this in the middle of July, and it was kind of fun to sit there and watch a Christmas movie.
And that's another thing about this film is like this and Die Hard. It's like people don't seem to realize that these are actually Christmas movies.
Yeah, I don't remember if this came out around Christmas. It probably did. But yeah, it's fun. It was fun watching a Christmas movie in July. I enjoyed it.
Actually, I think it came out during the summer. I don't think it came out at Christmas time.
And that is what Gremlins did too. If you remember when Gremlins first came out, I still remember this because it was like 110 degrees outside and we go in to see Gremlins and it's a Christmas movie and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, people, I guess they don't realize it too because it's in California, it's LA, and Los Angeles, and it's hot, like being here in Florida. I mean, it's it doesn't feel like Christmas, but all the way through the movie, I mean, you get surprised because of how much Christmas stuff is actually in it.
So, in all, I just loved this movie. I mean, this was the 80s for us. I mean, growing up, it was Lethal Weapon, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, The Goonies. I mean, all these incredible films came out, and this is one of those. This is one of the big flashback films, and rewatching it here, oh man, I had so much fun. It was just as great watching this movie as it was when I saw it for the first time, and I loved it. I loved it from beginning to end. The characters here were great, the story was great, action was great, and of course, that is why this thing is a classic.
And I would have to agree with all of that. I mean, I mean, as far as the movie goes, yeah, it's classic. It's action packed. It's funny. It's acted well. It's done well. And yeah, I would also give it.
Stop the presses! Who is that? Is that Vicky Vale?
Yeah, I guess so.
Exactly. So now that we've confused everybody, let's tell them what we're doing here, Vince.
So we're going to do something different here with our sort of like our ratings thing here. Instead of giving it, 5 whatever, 5 no.
Yeah, that's what we give most of the stuff. We give it a 5 whatever.
Instead of giving it a 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 or whatever, we doing something a little different, and it is archive or bury. Should we archive this movie or should we bury it?
This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I really couldn't figure out how to do it because, like our forgotten films and stuff, I don't think they should have ratings because a lot of these are so old. So it's like, should we archive this for future generations to enjoy it? Do we think it's that good, or is it so bad just bury it and hopefully nobody ever sees this again? So that's basically the idea of this new rating board, and it's only going to be on sort of the franchises and the forgotten films. The ratings are going to stay the same on the new movies.
So with that out of the way, this is the first film we're going to try this on, and that is Lethal Weapon.
And the thing is, we came up with this idea after we did all these reviews. So we already recorded all the reviews for all the Lethal Weapons, so we're going to be interrupting it in every review to archive or bury it.
I think it's pretty obvious for the both of us, but for me, I would say with Lethal Weapon, it's a definite archive.
Oh yeah, this is still a classic. It's still a great film. It's still a lot of fun. I think for those who have never seen it, it's an absolute archive.
Yeah, I think it's a complete classic. It's the buddy cop film of the decade, of the century. It is the buddy cop film that defines buddy cop films. So it's a definite archive.
So there you go. This one has been archived. Now let's continue our review from where we left off. And it's so fun. And if you haven't seen this, go revisit it. I mean, that's the point of this whole video, is to get you guys to go out and rewatch some of these great films. And, you know, there's a lot of young people on here, Vince, believe it or not, who watches our channel, who maybe never heard of Lethal Weapon until the TV series just came out. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, was this a movie or something? And, you know, if you've never seen the movie, go buy it. For $10, you get all 4 of them. I think that we got it on sale, though. I think the original price is either $15 or $20. Still, an amazing price for 4 films that are this quality.
And if you do ever have a chance to see the director's cut of Lethal Weapon, I urge you to see that too. Because like I said, all the deleted scenes are in there, but there's also one missing scene that's not in the deleted scenes. It's a whole sniper scene that really needs to be seen. It's really worth it.
So come back and we are going to review all 4 Lethal Weapon movies, because
that's what we do here.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell, wherever that bell is, so when you come back here, that bell will ring and go ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic art. I got a plane flying overhead. Hold on. Jeez.